What's going on, family and friends out there in internet world, social media world? Hey, this is Coach Clavon. We are here for another exciting episode of Uncommon Men. Hey guys, this is our 12th episode, Uncommon Mondays, the podcast being heard and talked about all over the world. Like, man, where is Dan and Clay? Where are they finding these uncommon men? Hey guys, here's the deal. Before we get started, if you watch this broadcast on our YouTube platforms, please remember to subscribe to the channel. Stay locked in, like the channel, leave comments, but subscribe, be a part of the family because we got some special things lined up for you guys this year. Obviously, if you're watching this on the social media outlets, our Facebook groups, whatever the case may be, hey, share the broadcast, okay? Share the broadcast, guys. Share it. Like it. And guys, we're so fired up and so excited right now. I got to tell you. So, uncommon men all over the world. People say, well, what's going on with this uncommon movement? What is the significance? How, where did this get birthed out of? Guys, I'll tell you something, out of need and necessity. I got to tell you that, out of need and necessity. When we think about uncommon men, we think about a conglomerate of men from all over the world, males from 16 and above that really want success, that want victory on their terms. And this concept was born out of the brain of a gentleman I have a tremendous amount of respect for. And before we introduce our guest tonight, man, I want you guys to kind of just hear a little bit about what this uncommon movement means. I know for me, it means freedom and alignment and brotherhood and support and victory and success on my terms. But there's a bigger global vision, and no one better to help me share it than Mr. Dan Putnam, the CEO of Be Epic and the visionary leader behind the Uncommon Movement. Dan, how you feeling, my brother?
Man, I'm fantastic, Clavon. How are you doing?
Man, I feel blessed. I'm excited about tonight, man. The world's asking, man. I'm getting calls from China, from Singapore. I'm getting calls from Brazil. I'm getting calls from Miami. I'm getting calls from all over the world. What's going on with this uncommon movement? Dan, what was the reason for starting this thing?
You know what? It's simple, Clavon. We just wanted to put something together that gives everybody a chance to actually realize who they are, what they're capable of, and give them every chance to achieve it. I've really studied success for the last 30 years. I kind of look at it. It's kind of the main thing that I've really done in order to become successful is studied success. And what I found is there's a lot of commonalities between all successful people. And this podcast is really just to demonstrate that so that you can start to see what all of these people that are successful have in common. And here's what I can guarantee you. You start doing those same things, you're going to start to see some success. And I learned it firsthand. I struggled. First thing I learned, you need to find mentors. You need to find mentors that have done what you're wanting to do. You need to be open-minded. You need to, be willing to focus and work even when the results take a little bit of time to measure. And, I think more important than anything, you need to just understand what you're capable of becoming. Because I think so often people don't believe that they can do anything else. They don't believe that they can, achieve amazing things. Maybe because of their background, where they were brought up, or maybe they, think that you have to be a great communicator. You have to look a certain way, or you have to act a certain way, or come from a certain place, or speak a certain language. But I think what you'll find, you can go all over the world, people from every background you can possibly imagine. Some of them have figured out a way to become successful. And again, if you do what they do, the chances are you're going to get what they have. And it's the same thing. We talk about this every week. If we'd made the decision, let's interview a whole bunch of unsuccessful people that are struggling in life, people that aren't doing well, and you're going to find a lot of commonalities between every single one of those people. So this is just really the same thing. And so the concept of uncommon is putting together an exact roadmap, putting together an opportunity that people can participate in, mentorships, and then again, we focus on some of the newest technology, AI technology, and things like that. But the podcast is really just designed to interview uncommon men, get to find out what makes them tick, Some of the things that they feel has helped them become successful, some of their mindsets. We focus on 5 things that we'll cover on this. We focus a little bit on health and fitness, because again, our health is probably our first wealth, maybe the most important thing that we have as human beings. Then we get focused a little bit on finances, and more specifically, residual income, and explain the difference. A lot of people don't maybe even know what residual income is, and they may not know that every single person can set up opportunities to start earning residual income. We'll discuss that a little bit. And then we'll discuss a little bit on personal development, and then accountability, which kind of holds everything together. And then we'll close it off with giving back. It's something that I think that, all humans should do, help others. It's something that I'm super passionate about. And so let's get this ball rolling, Clavon. Let's get it started here tonight.
Well, I'm going to ask for your permission to segue us into our guest. And then I'm actually going to ask you a question as soon as I get Mr. Simpson up on the line. But what does it mean to be uncommon, to be on this broadcast? I think Jeff Simpson exemplifies uncommon men, an uncommon male.
Yeah.
And I think the audience around the country will see that as we engage in this interview. I mean, a gentleman, right? A family man, a father. Jeff, I have a tremendous amount of respect for you. I've been in the trenches with you on a couple of different opportunities. And I want to say one thing for sure. In our industry of MLM, if people have seen the flyer, you are a documented 7-figure earner. And I think that's kind of Hall of Fame-ish. But what I really respect about you, Jeff, is that you've done 7 figures in multiple companies. And for me, many may not understand that. They may sound like exciting, but I think that's phenomenal to be able to do it and then get back in the trenches for whatever reason, and you have to do it again. I think that's superior, leadership. You've done it on a global scale. So you are a veteran in this industry, someone very successful financially, but also in leadership. I know you build teams globally. And, before I get into these questions, we want to say welcome. We want to say welcome to you, Jeff. And bear with me, because I got a question that's just been burning in my mind for you, and it's for you and Dan, right? As you guys get connected, Jeff, let me just ask you something really quick. Was your first 7-figure earning for you and your family, was it in TLC?
Yes.
Now watch this. I'm gonna go to Dan, and then I'm gonna come back to you.
Okay.
Now, why is Dan someone I consider a friend, a business partner? Dan's a boss, and Dan is a serious global leader. Dan, this one is for you, because I think the epitome of this industry, because when you've been around 20 years or more, we all know we get into this industry for some level of wealth and freedom and success for us and our families. And then when you get to a certain point and you accomplish that, right, get rich, you give back. I got to ask you something, Dan, because you may not know this, Jeff. Dan, I want to ask you 2 questions. Number one, could you give Jeff and the world a slight overview, whatever you feel is appropriate, to the seed that you played in the building of TLC and what the role you played in that company becoming $1 billion company? And I know the details. Dan is so damn humble. It wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for Dan Putnam. There would be no TLC. There would have been no T. And there would have been no this and that. And then I got to ask you something. As you share your role in that epic company, if you feel comfortable with it, how does it feel to know that your leadership and your success in this industry has affected families that you may not even know? So imagine, audience out there, you help build a company and families make millions of dollars, and you're not even connected to those folks. Jeff, I think you could agree that that's high-level vision and servant leadership. I got to say, when you can build something and then maybe 5 years later meet a gentleman who made $1 million in a company you built that you maybe not even associated with, because that's what we do this for, right? The greatest success is being able to look in the mirror and say, look how many damn families I've helped, consciously, whether I know or not.
That's called impact.
That's impact, right? So I want you to hear, Jeff, a little bit about Dan's journey as it pertains to that company. And we got questions for you, but I gotta ask Dan, how does it feel to sit on a podcast with a gentleman who made his first million in a company you bared your heart and soul in building?
You know what? It's really what it's all about, and that's why we put companies together. My whole vision with this type of leveraged income was to be able to create an income and really educate people, show them how they can make a full-time income in their spare time. And the nice thing about that residual income, it can come over and over and over, month after month after month, get paid over and over on the work that you already did, and then allow them to really focus on what they're passionate about as a full-time basis. I think that so many of us live kind of backwards. We work for somebody else full-time, and then we do our passion part-time or spare time. And so my vision was, hey, let's provide an opportunity, and over time, you can actually make a full-time income in your spare time, and then spend your full time on your passion. And so I by no means would take all the credit for any company, because it's the leaders in the field that make things happen. I give Jack and John and the whole crowd there a lot of credit for keeping things together. There's so many moving parts in a network marketing company, but it is something that I'm proud of. We've helped launch many companies, funding those companies, putting together compensation plans, bringing the products, bringing the leaders. And so I met Jack when he was the president of a company called Alive Worldwide, and helped Scotty Paulson launch a company called Rev Energy. And so during that whole conversation and that whole setup of Alive Worldwide, and then something completely different that they didn't even think of until we had our meeting, launch a whole company literally in probably 6, 7, 8 hours of discussions or less. Jack came and said, man, I have this company that I was running, Total Life Changes. This is 2008, by the way. So Total Life Changes was shut all the way down. Jack was working for Scotty Paulson, and he sent me a text and said, hey, if you'll help me do what you're doing for Scotty, I'll give you 50% of the company. And so contacted a couple of the guys that I work with and said, hey, what do you guys think? Do you guys want to put something together here? So launched the company in 2008. We put the money together, funded it. The one product, NutriBurst. And then about probably 4 or 5 months into it, the master distributor at that time brought in some distributors that were in Dr. Miller's Holy Tea Club. And they were basically saying they weren't super happy with how things were running there, and some issues. I'm not super aware of the issues. I was never in that company. But they basically said, hey, if you could bring this tea over, we could build a massive group. And I had heard of Dr. Miller's Holy Tea Club, but I didn't know about the tea. I'd never tried the tea. I figured if I give him a call, he's just going to say, oh, we're already selling to somebody else, and I wouldn't get anywhere. So I talked to Jack a little bit and said, hey, I'm going to fly out there and see if I can get a deal done on this tea and bring this whole group over. And literally that's what happened. I flew out to Jackson, Tennessee, showed up at Dr. Miller's office. He didn't know me. I didn't know him. That first, kind of a little awkward, to be honest with you. But I left about 3 days later with about 20,000 tea bags. What's interesting, the people who introduced us to Dr. Miller, his name was Leo Sheridan, and he was Greece. So his heritage was Greek. And he had a name in mind for a company. They originally was wanting to launch a company. They couldn't get the funds and everything together. That's why they came over to Total Life Changes. But the whole thing with Iaso, a lot of people have wondered, why is it Iaso tea? Where did that come from? I literally that night was looking through the Greek heritage and stuff like that. And Iaso is the Greek goddess of health and nutrition. And it just happened to be available. And so that's where Total Life Changes came up with the Iaso. And we also are the ones that brought Armand over, which, got TLC kind of off of the ground, and several other things. But again, I definitely would never take the credit from, Jeff's hard work and all of the other people's hard work out there, because, you can start a lot of companies and they can have good products, good compensation plan, all of that type of thing. And people don't make money and the company doesn't grow. So what made the $1 billion company wasn't me, wasn't the tea. It was people just like Jeff and other amazing individuals that put their blood, sweat, and tears and relationships and work ethic and everything else on the line. Because I'll tell you what, I don't care the industry. It's not easy to make $1 million. And so, and then it's even more difficult to repeat that. And so I'm excited to hear a little bit more of Jeff's story. And because again, I've been doing this for 30 years. And the thing I probably pride myself the most on is being able to repeat. And I feel that I've been able to repeat for one reason. I truly understand what this business is, what the business isn't. And I also understand that there's a lot of luck involved, but it's not all luck. It's something that with the right game plan and the correct understanding that your business is your list. Your business isn't Total Life Changes or any other company out there. That's somebody else's business. Your business is your list. You monetize your business with their products or services, and that's how this works. But so many people don't realize that, so they never have the basic foundation. So when they start to build a team, that they're focused on building the list every single day, that they're referring some people to this product, that product, or whatever. But that's not the business. The business is your list. Second step, cultivate the list. Third step, invite to some sort of presentation or sample or whatever it is, and that's where they make the decision. So I think that's probably one of the biggest issues is most people don't even understand the business. So even people that were successful have a very, very difficult time of ever repeating it because they don't even know what truly made them successful to begin with. And that was kind of my frustration starting off in the industry, is talking to all these leaders that had made a lot of money, literally doing exactly what they say to do, but not having even close to measurable results. And the only way that you truly have a system is if you can basically take out the skill set of the person following the system and have measurable results, consistent results. And that's the big issue here, is that's what most people don't have. Now, through a lot of hard work, right, good timing, there's been a lot of people that have been blessed with 7-8 figures in this industry that I would still say they don't understand the industry. But through hard work, right timing, luck, some people have made the money. But what you're talking about with Jeff, that's pretty rare of being able to do it multiple times, continue it. And so let's basically get right down into it and get some of these nuggets and some of these secrets out there. And I'll
Jeff,
let you go ahead and take over, Clayvon, for a second.
I'm gonna give it right back to you, Dan. Dan's gonna ask a series of questions that we're gonna kind of tag team on. But I think first and foremost, we always want to start off like, who is Jeff Simpson? You know what I mean? Like, where were you born? Where were you raised? What impact your community had on you? Parents, whether they were there or not, siblings, man. Just give us some insight on Jeff Simpson and what even led you up into the industry of multi-level marketing.
Great question, man. First of all, man, I would like to say thanks for you and Dan having me on here. It's definitely an honor. It's definitely humble to serve, and always just spread my story, because they always say it's the story. You always want to know this. You see the glory, but do you really know the story? So I thank you for all having me on this podcast for me to share my story, because it's always intriguing to share someone's story. But a little about myself, man. I've been in sales since I think I was a kid. I was one of those children. I was the first. I'm a junior. So I was one of the ones that got it tough. My dad was always on me, but it made me the man who I am today. Those are my heroes, my parents. Even to this day, they work very hard. And sales has always been in me, man. I've since the age of 14, it was kind of funny because, it was 5 of us growing up. And, I was one of the ones that didn't have, like the nice clothes in school. And I remember one time when I was in middle school, I said, you know what? I had to start school. I remember, I had to start school 8th grade. And I never forget, with the same clothes from last year. That is detrimental to a kid's mental. When you have to start the school year with no new clothes and from the prior year before. So I told myself that, you know what? I'm going to work when I get to high school, so I'll never have to go through this again. And I worked the same job all through high school. As a kid, when I was 10 years old, when kids are outside playing, I remember walking around the neighborhood with a lawnmower, say, hey, can I cut your grass for 20 bucks? Can I cut your grass for 20 bucks? Can I cut your grass for 20 bucks? And even as all my success I had in the industry, I said, Jeff, you're making $6 a month, you're still cutting your grass. I just love to do it at the time. You know, it was instilled in me as a kid. And they said, Jeff, you're making all this money. Why don't you just pay someone to do it? I said, no, this is who I am. And that makes me relatable. Like, wait, this guy still cuts his own grass. You know, he's a 7-figure earner in the industry of network marketing. So it's little things like that, you know, sometimes, and that's why you have to go through trials and tribulations, because it humbles you, and, you know, it makes you more relatable with people. Like, okay, wait a minute, he really worked for this. It wasn't handed to him. So, you know, I think that was instilled in me. So a little bit about myself. Before I got into the industry, I still am an insurance agent. You know, I have been, you know, book of business for many years. I did insurance for about 20 years. And, like I said before, I started out at age 14 doing sales for a company back then called AT&T. Okay. You know, they've been around. They're still around now, you know, right now. And then when I turned like 19, 20-ish years old, my mom said, Jeff, you know, why don't you get your insurance license? You know, you've always been good at, you know, talking to people. That's my gift. Everyone knows my gift is talking with people. Like I can get here and take this podcast to 2 weeks if you let me keep talking. You get what I'm saying? Because that's just who I am. It's in me. I'm not scared to talk in front of people. It's just who I am. So I became an insurance agent at the age of 19. And of course, I started with a company called Humana. And I got my license before I got on the phones. And I mean, before I actually was in the field. So, of course, I was a number one appointment setter. I used to set appointments.
So, Jeff, Humana was mostly health insurance, or do they sell life insurance also?
Yeah, I started out on the life side, but you know, when I had my first child, I needed some more stability, because life insurance is strictly commissions.
Yeah.
And you know, at the time, I remember I'm 19 years old, 20 years old with a license. I didn't go to college. So I'm in a room here with, you know, 30, 40 years, you know, the 40-year-olds at the time. They're like, what are you doing here? You know, you're supposed to be in college, you know, jerking off something like that, having a good time, you know. But like I said, I grew up fast because I was ambitious at a young age. Okay. So in that, you know, so I said, well, this is where I am. So life insurance at the time was commission only. And usually that's what's the word I'm looking for? It scares the heck out of people getting commission only at that age. People mostly they want that stability, they want that salary, they want that check. So so at the time, you know, when I had my first child, I said, you know what, I need something more stability. So I got on the health side. So the health side, I was able to get salary and commissions. So I stayed on the health side for about 20 years. So I got on the health side. I started out on Humana on the phones, and then I found out the kind of money the agents were making in the field. I said, wait a minute, you guys are getting my golden appointments, but you know, I'm making 10, 12 bucks an hour, but you guys are making $400 or $500 an application, you know? So, now let's get into the personal development. So, I wanted to get into the field, and, you know, I you know, for a long time, I was my own mentor, because I dreamt big. I listened to a lot of CDs, and this is the part people want to skip when it comes to this industry. You got to feed your mind. You got to educate yourself about what is it that you want to do. Like, you know, when people say, Jeff, you made, you know, 7 figures this company twice, but do you know that I've been listening to these CDs, DVDs, reading books for years? And see, that's the part people want to skip. You know, it's like this industry is like anything else. When you get into it, okay, it's done a certain way. See, when you get a job, when you start any Fortune 500 company, what's the first thing you want to get a job? You go to what? Training. Yeah. Right. But this is the only industry where people type kind of disrespect, where they get in, don't get no training, and want results. Yeah. And then when they don't get the results, they say, oh, it doesn't work. No, you never really took the time to study and learn the industry. Like, okay, do you know who the legends are in the industry? Do you know who the Dexter Gagers are in industry? Do you know all these? Have you studied these guys? Okay, or these gals? You know, I've studied people, you know, top earners, Mary Kay, top earners at Amway. I've studied their stories. I learned what they've done. And this is the thing, like, you never take time to learn the people who set the path before you. And these are the type of things that it took. So I read CDs about these legends. I should watch how they dress. I should watch how they speak. I did all these things, and they never knew these things 20 years ago. right? So here I am, fast forward today. I was in the industry of insurance and I did really well. But I got into the industry at the time, not because I needed the money, but I wanted my time.
Mm,
I worked very hard. And back then, when I was selling insurance, it was a residual. And they have a saying in sales, because sales is in me. You're only good as your last month.
yep. Yep.
S-
It's funny, Jeff. I got started in network marketing about the same time you got started in insurance. So I got started when I
Right,
was 18, just about to turn 19,
right,
and it took a while before I started making any money and stuff like that. By the time I graduated college, I was doing well. And fast forward to about 6 years into it, I'd had two companies in a row just go out of business that I had built close to a six-figure monthly income in. One of them a little bit over six figures, one of them a little less than six figures. And in '99, I got out of the network marketing industry and got into insurance. My dad was worked in insurance growing up. My parents had furniture stores. My dad also did insurance, working with mostly Aflac, but he also did some life insurance and stuff like that. I didn't want to just go work for my dad in insurance and kind of looked around. And I went to work for Blue Cross Blue Shield. So that's why I knew a little bit about Humana and stuff like that, that in the health side anyways. But it was kind of an interesting thing. And ours was similar because I have some friends in the life insurance business, and that's more of that residual income. And even my dad in Aflac,
right,
I think he went maybe 25 years or more, maybe even still. I think he still gets paid with Aflac. You're talking like 50 years or 40 some years into it, 40 years
right,
later. And so, but Blue Cross doesn't do any residuals. So they
right.
basically do a base commission plus, um, well,
Especially when you're a
yeah,
captive agent.
basically,
Yeah, when you're
yeah. So
captive, they
you
don't do
have
residuals.
your base pay plus commissions, and
Right,
then every year when they renew, that doesn't count towards your quota. So we had a quota for group sales. I only sold group. I didn't do individual health, so just
got it,
group.
got it.
And we had a quota for group sales, and then we had the quota for contracts. But the
Got it.
next year we started again at zero. And that I started in network marketing. I did very well in the health insurance. And I thought, man, that in my mind, I'm like, man, this is way easier than network marketing, because where I was only selling groups, I literally just went through yellow pages, and I'm like, I literally will talk to every single business in town and see who's interested. And I did well. I broke the record for most group sales, most group contracts sold the year that I was there. But then I had no desire to continue working when the next year I'm starting at zero. And now it's harder because all those groups I sold, we have to do their semi-annual renewal, their renewal, all of the other stuff that you have to do working with the groups, and don't get paid even anything for that. You're better off to have them quit for a year and then try and get them back later, because that was the only time that you got paid. So I'm there with you. And I love how you said, you're making good money, but you didn't have the most valuable asset. I look at our two most valuable assets as human beings, our health and our time.
Yeah.
And so what we talk about with Uncommon, Jeff, is really 5 key aspects of life. 2 of them, which we feel are the most important, and that's going to be our health and then our time. And so let's just kind of go through these really quick and just kind of get your thoughts on health and nutrition, health and fitness. Is there anything that you do? Do you have like a morning routine, a nightly routine, anything that you try and do just to stay in shape, any type of diet, anything like that, nutrition plans?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I've actually lost probably about 25, 30 pounds in the last year, because
Oh,
I've always
fantastic.
been on the heavier side, and I lost the weight. It's changed my eating. Yeah, definitely, man, definitely. I fast a lot. I fast a lot as well. I tend to, like, sometimes, I actually told myself this year I'm going to start doing at least twice a week. I'm already doing once a week, where it's just a day I just don't eat at all. I just
Oh man,
fast, let my body
we'll have
regenerate.
to talk. You should listen to last
Yeah.
week's podcast, because I was just myself and Clavon. We didn't have a guest on last week, and I was there in Houston, and we so I went through the whole thing, and talked a lot about fasting, and I'm doing the same thing, and really really liking it. It's
Yeah.
crazy how much control we can give food.
Yeah.
And so you said you're fasting kind of like intermittent, and 1 or 2 full days a week, 24
Yeah,
hours,
well, yeah,
48
so, yeah,
hours.
some, yeah, yeah. So a lot of times, 24 hours. It's for me. It's common to like go the whole day because I like to work because it tends to slow you down, and
Yeah.
your mental clarity is very high when you're not eating heavily. So it's like you got to try it because like you think clear. Like, wait a minute, wow, someone say you should try it, and
Yeah.
it's gotten very easy for me to do. And so I want to get up to at least twice a week, but of course that takes time and discipline because I like to eat. Okay, so,
Yeah.
but yeah, fitness, man, definitely is important, man. I mean, because I was in health and wellness companies. Most of my company were product-based companies, and I was honest with people. I say, you know what, guys, honestly, 1 year in my first company when I made my 7 figures, I said, look, guys, I apologize to you all, but I cheated my way to success. We have a product-based company that's health and wellness, and I didn't lose any weight, but because of my skill set and my tenacity with people, I'm a people's person. So building a culture is my strong point because I'm pretty sure they're going to ask Jeff, how did you do it? Well, one of my secrets is culture building. But I told him, so look, y'all, I'm going to get serious about my health and fitness because it's what we do. You have to actually look like what you're selling. And I apologize. I got on stage one day and I apologized. I said, look, you all, I'd have the success, but I don't want to cheat anymore. I really want to look to par, and I had a really big thing about belts, being able to, get on stage and be able to leave your jacket open because, your shirt is tucked in
Yeah.
and you can see the belt buckle.
I
So that
love
was a
it.
big deal for me, and I made that happen. I made it happen, and now for me, and I tell people, when you get on that journey, don't try to do it all in one day. Take baby steps. Don't try to run, walk. Make it fun first. And
Yeah.
another cheat code too is find something fun to do. My thing was tennis. Believe it or not, tennis is killer. It's a great sport where you can have a lot of fun and just lose a lot of weight. That was what did it for me was tennis.
Hey, Jeff.
Make it fun.
That's going crazy is pickleball. Have you played that at all, Jeff?
Oh man, I've seen the I've never tried it, but I've seen the rackets recently the other day in the store.
Yeah, man,
Yeah.
it's going crazy, at least here in Utah. I don't know about everywhere, but
Yeah.
Hey, Jeff, before we go into the next topic, have you
Yeah.
ever had any problems with having a rhythm of your diet,
Of
fast,
course.
exercise?
Of course. That's called
Because of the
being
industry,
human. That's
right? But
called being
because
human.
we were traveling so much, and the traveling breaks your rhythm,
Absolutely.
how do you deal with that?
Absolutely, man. You're right because you're on the go. It's hard to grab a healthy meal when you're at the airport. It's nothing there but fast food. It's nothing there but grab a burger quick. You got to run to this meeting, and then sometimes readings go late. One of my biggest problems I had was eating late. That was one of my detriments to my my diet, and I was able to finally say, you know what, enough is enough. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's called human. It's called life. And but the good thing about at that time, I know we're not discussing companies, but the good thing at that time was, the detox component helped out a lot. Because look, they always say, look, I ate bad. Let me go ahead and get on my products and snap back. So that's a good thing about having a health and wellness product because you can snap back. That can assist you because look, I'll be lying if I tell you, look, I was completely on it 100% rhythm wise. No, I'm not. I wasn't. And then you don't beat yourself up for that because you know what? Reward yourself. Reward yourself because psychologically, if you have to binge and reward yourself, do that. Get it out your system, but you got to get back on it. That's it. That's it.
I love it, Jeff, and we'll have to have some conversations maybe later on the fasting and some of the things that some of the people I'm following, some of the people you're following, and
Sure.
and see where we go from there. But the next thing after the health is really that time. That's what you're talking about, and that's why we talk not just on financial literacy, but we talk specifically on residual income. Obviously, there's a lot of ways to make residual income. Good example is rentals. If I get a house and I rent it out, that rent's coming in month after month after month. So I go get 5, 10, 15, 20 rentals, and that residual income starts building up. Other things, selling a product or service, life insurance,
Right.
and they renew every single month, month after month, year after year. There's different things like that. There's also just services that people provide. You talked about, mowing the lawns. Now, again, if you're out there doing the physical labor, that's not
Not residual.
necessarily the same thing. But if you're
Right.
the owner and you have a bunch
Right.
of people and they go get, 1,000 accounts that sign up for your monthly service that they're going to go mow the lawn twice a week, that's coming in every single month with these 1,000 people residually. So, or selling a product like you were talking about, a nutritional product. I go out and I sell 10 this month and I make, $250. Next month, those 10 reorder. I'm starting with the $250, and then I continue to build upon that. And then if you have the ability, both in things like real estate, things like life insurance, health insurance, where you not only do you have the ability to sell, but then you also have the ability to become a broker or build teams,
Correct.
or a lot of the companies like we've discussed, nutritional companies, service-based companies that allow you to come in and build teams that give you the ability to get residual income. But just to talk a little bit about the difference making money with Humana and other health insurance companies that weren't residual or as residual compared to the residual incomes that you've made, and just the different lifestyle that it provides.
Definitely. Linear income. That's what it is. Linear
Yeah.
income is it could be great. It can be very satisfying and gratifying, but sometimes you're not going to always be your best every month. Sometimes you have what is called something called burnout. You get burned out. So what happens is that you tend to give less work, but you're going to suffer for that in pay. And that's what I realized. I said, wait a minute, I'm doing well, but I'm giving a lot of my time. And so I said to myself, wait a minute, I went to a presentation one time, and it says, the difference between what we do, and then you have what is called a doctor, a lawyer, or an accountant. Those guys have great titles. They make great incomes, but guess what? They're only the person responsible for their income.
Yeah.
Which means if they stop working, guess what else stops working? The money.
Yeah.
And so they, I never forget. I went around he went around the room and asked, "What do you do? What do you do? What do you do?" So raise your hand if you make at least 6 figures a year on your job. And of course, I raised my hand at the time. And he's like, "Okay, are you good at what you do? Or do you consider yourself a top agent? What you do?" I said, "Yeah, sure." He said, "Okay, well, what happens if you get sick for 2-3 weeks and you can't work?" And I paused for a second. I said, wait a minute. Well, I work mostly in commissions because most of my jobs was always commissions.
Yeah.
I said, wait a minute. He said, well, how's your month going to be? And that was my aha moment right there. That's when I was learning I had to do something else. Not because I wasn't making the money, but because I
Right.
needed that residual. And also it can also buy back my time.
The other thing I like, Jeff, when I think about it and what was kind of the driver, and I had so many conversations with people, I personally like to, do water sports at the lake, whether it's wakeboarding or now wake surfing or water skiing or just hanging out in the boat or going fishing, golfing, skiing in the winter. I live here in Utah. Those things are, can cost a decent amount of money, but any attorney, anybody with, like, just as an example, if you buy a ski pass off season, it's around $1,500. That means you can ski every single day, all winter long, for $1,500 a year. Same thing with golf here. There's golf courses that'll sell a season pass for about $1,200 a year. And that means I can golf during the golf season every single day for $1,200 a year. Now, again, boats can get expensive, but the main thing is the time. And so the thing I love about the residual income is, like, an attorney or a doctor or dentist or something like that, or just any high paid person, they could ski every day in the winter, money wise. They could golf every day in the summer, money wise, but they can't do any of that because they don't have the time. So not only is it how does your month look, but
Right.
just being able to go and see your kids' activities or go to the gym anytime you want. You don't have to pick the busiest times of the day to go to the gym because you can go when everybody else is working. You don't have to pick the busiest days to go to the lake. Even skiing, I typically would never go skiing on the weekends because that's when everybody has the time off. I'd go when everybody else is at work. And the same thing with the lake. You go to the lake on a Saturday, Sunday, it's super crowded. You go on a Wednesday afternoon, it's not that crowded. And so that's some of the things that I love about the residual income. Even if it's not nearly as much, I'd probably be happier on less than half the amount of income if it was residual compared to linear. Meaning, I would rather take 10,000 a month residual than 20,000 a month working 50, 60 hours a week.
Correct.
Just because of that time factor.
Correct.
Let me ask you something, Jeff.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, I wanted to just ask Jeff a quick question about this income because I remember growing up in a mom and pop business. My father was an entrepreneur, and before the cash flow quadrant, I knew what it meant to see a man own a job.
Right.
Get there first, leave last, be the mechanic. Have to do everything with the.
Yeah, that's the B. Yeah.
I mean, it was just almost horrendous to see, and afforded a decent lifestyle. But my point is, when I saw residual income as a concept, I mean, the light bulb went straight right off. I said, this has got to be a better way. And I want to ask you, as someone who's built nationally and internationally, the teaching point. How do you feel about teaching the difference between trading time for money, linear income, and residual? How do people receive it? And is it difficult to teach that? Do you think people are really fighting it because of generational customs or what they got from their parents and their grandparents? Can you just talk a little bit about how it's been trying to create that paradigm shift for people all over the world? How difficult is that?
Definitely. People fear what they don't understand. In their mind, it's tantalizing, to get out of that concept, because the first thing because remember, for most people, if it doesn't work in the first 2 weeks, they don't think it's going to work. So that's why you kind of you have to bring it down to where they are now, and you have to use a lot of analogies when it comes to work, with their job. Like, okay, well, let me ask you a question. How long did it take you to learn this at your job? How long did it take you to learn that? You got to bring it down to the level, because a lot of times people make a mistake where they say, look, you got to build residual income. You got to build the business. Someone that goes to work every day, that word residual and that word business is not going to be in their vocabulary. It's just something they're not used to. So you have to learn how to use a lot of analogies. And that's what I learned about the book called How to Win Friends and Influence People. It taught me how to come down to their level where they are. You have to be a chameleon. You have to learn how, okay, this person does this. So you have to learn how to come to their level and say, look, so if you look at your job, okay, and it took you how long to do this? So manager, you want to become a manager, right? You want to move up in your job, right? So what is it going to take to move up your job as a manager? Okay, well, I have to learn this skill. I have to read this book. I have to read that book. Okay, perfect. So now you take that same comparison. So look, this is different. So then once you start to connect with them like that, then you let them know about the risk to reward. Then you let them know about the risk, high risk, high reward. So, okay, look, so if you're willing to learn what you do with your job, imagine now if you take that same energy, learn this skill and do it same exact way, right? This is going to be the reward. So you have to learn how to meet common ground. That's all it is. Once they get the common ground, they say, okay, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. Oh, okay, I get it now. See, once they start talking like that, you unlock their minds, because now you're on common ground and it's easier. And that was my strong point. I was a great teacher, but I learned how to come down to their ground. And see, that comes from also one being where they were.
Right.
That also comes from me working, being in the field, started from zero. So that's what I'm saying. The most successful people in the world had to go through it. See, the ones that had it handed to them, like Dan said earlier, or they just got in at the right time and got lucky. That's why they never able to repeat it, because they don't have those basic principles of hard work, working your way up, taking a lot of no's, getting that rejection, failing. Right. It's a part of success.
For sure, Jeff. I love that. I just looked. I love that analogy you're taking. How long does it take if you start a job before you move up into management? It's not instantly, unless you already have the experience. You might get hired as a manager. But I just looked on Google while you were talking, and it says from an entry level job to move up into management takes an average of 3 to 5 years. And I mean, that shows you right there. I mean, most of the people that go from zero in network marketing to a 6 or even 7-figure income, it usually takes somewhere between that 3 to 5 years. Same thing. Only difference is now you have a leveraged residual income that you're in complete control of, instead of a linear income that somebody else is in complete control of you. And so either way, you're going 3 to 5 years. The beauty of the networking business and the distribution business is you can do all that in your spare time, and then build it up to an incredible income. And so we talk about the health and fitness, and just because, health is so important, and a lot of times in life, we don't think about it while we're chasing that dollar and doing everything.
True.
And then all of a sudden you get older and older, and something happens, and it might be too late. And then that financial learning about the residual income and putting yourself in position so that you can actually control your time. Because again, who wants to control their time, only when they're like 65, 70, 75 years old?
Right.
It's much funner to be able to control your time in your 30s, 40s than wait until you're 65 or 75 or something like that, if you gave somebody the option. And we feel that the two ways through Uncommon that we help people take control of their health, take control of their wealth, is first off through personal development. You talked a little bit about it. Any books you would recommend people reading? Any mentors? Anybody you follow on social media, whether it's Instagram or YouTube or TikTok?
Any book this guy has written, any book from Og Mandino.
Oh,
Okay.
wow. The greatest salesman in the world.
He's also got another book called The Greatest Secret in the World.
Yeah.
Any book from Og Mandino. Mark Yarnell. I tell people, going back to this industry, you got to know the names. You got to know who Richard Call is. You got to know who Kathy Dennison is. You got to know who Mark Yarnell is. Okay. You got to know who Dex Yeager is. These are the people you learn from. I've studied my craft. It said, Jeff, you made 7 figures in this company in less than 3 years. I said, yeah, but it took me 8 years to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It took me 8 to 10 years to become an overnight success.
It's funny how most of the time people all of a sudden they hear of you quickly once you get there, but they don't know the entire backstory. But for network marketing specifically, your first year in network marketing by Mark Yarnell, I think, is a classic, a good one for people to kind of read and understand. What about
I got a lot of books.
About some of the mentors? Any current mentors or people that you're listening to on podcasts or?
Yeah, of course, Bob Proctor. My favorite of all time was Jim Rohn.
Yeah,
I think I got a CD down here. It's actually right here. You'll be amazed. Like, I go back and I still hit replay, sitting right here. Jim Rohn's, CD right here. Holton Buzz did one called Cash Cow. Definitely Jim Rohn. What's this guy's name? Jim Rohn, Les Brown.
I love you.
Les Brown. Earl Nightingale. And the thing is that I mentioned a lot of these older names because these guys give the basics, because
right.
because nowadays everybody wants to cheat their way to success. And I said, look, things has changed the way network marketing is done nowadays. But first year network marketing is going to give you the basics.
Yeah.
Hey, Jeff,
Napoleon Hill's another great one. All of his books.
Let me ask you a question, Jeff. When we were introducing you, we talked about something that's truly uncommon is to be able to do 6 figures, let alone 7 figures in a company, and then repeat that. As Dan alluded to, it wasn't luck, right? So here we are, we're talking about personal growth and development. And I'm asking you, because when you get to a 7-figure income in a company, when it ends, it's usually a company changed the comp plan. It's usually some of the scars and ugly things that have given our industry a bad name, maybe founders and ownership. they change up, they flip the script. Hey, we got to look in the mirror too, right? Sometimes maybe we go into management mode and we lose that edge. I don't know, but we know things happen. But my point is, when that season's over, it can hurt a little bit. I mean, you can have some self-doubt, you can have some anger, some bitterness. You may join the cattle bell ring and say, I'm not doing this anymore. Can you tell me one or two things? Tell us 2 or 3 things that will last forever, right? Archived on this show, right? The Jeff isms. What did it take for you to get back in the trenches and do it again? So now, I mean, it's like a cliche question, but not just the fact that you've been working on yourself for 10 years prior, but any specific attributes that really got you out the bed and say, man, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this damn thing again.
Yeah. That happened to me right before I got into my first 7-figure company. I've told people that, do you all know I have done a total of maybe 7, 8 companies before TLC? Really, Jeff? Oh yeah, several. And I just kept failing. And I say, you know what? It was back in 2007 was my last company. I think it was a company called Visalis. And I followed a gentleman. I'm not mentioning no names because I'm very ethical. I just got tired of going from company to company like every 60, 90 days. I said, I'm not doing this no more. And I went back to work selling insurance. And then 2014, I saw someone say, you know what, I got something big coming up, and give me a call. And I said, you know what, I want to give it a shot. What got me back into that was I started dreaming again.
Mm.
Life gets in the way and it'll knock you down. You stop dreaming. But it all goes back to, and I'm going to give you some names, Dan, but honestly, for a very long time, I didn't have a mentor. I was my own mentor.
Yeah,
CDs and books were my mentors. I am dead serious.
I
I literally self-taught my way to 7 figures in my first company. Self-taught. I didn't have a mentor. It was constantly CDs and books. And this gentleman recently died. I'm going to tell you one of my mentors. His name was Tyrone Best. He recently passed away. Okay. This gentleman was out of Atlanta. He don't even know he changed my life. And I never met him. A gentleman by the name of Tyrone Best and another gentleman by the name of Greg Ammerman. Greg Ammerman was in a company called Equinox back then, very long time ago.
Yep.
And and you probably know him, Dan. And Tyrone Best was in another company called Focus International, or I think when he recently passed, he was in Carrot Bars. But he don't know it. He changed both of those gentlemen changed my life. I have their CDs right down here. I listen to the CDs over and over and over, and it says you got to dream big. You got to give it one more shot and dream big. I popped in the CD, and and I just thought about it once again. I wanted that time. I started dreaming Grand Clayvon, and I said, you know what? He said, Jeff, what you got to do? You got to go to the dealership. Go sit in that car. Go smell that leather. Okay, go into that model home. Walk around. And I did that. I literally did that. And that's the power of reading books and what audio can do for you. When I was working my insurance job, when I was on the phone, it was one book that changed my life, and I'm going to give it to you all. It is called The Dynamic Laws of Prosperity. The book, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm a very transparent guy. The book is like this thick. Okay, I only read the first 2 chapters. The first 2 chapters of that book changed my life. I was working at a job. This is when I was working at Humana, Dan, and I was on the phones, and I wanted to do sales at the time. I want to get in the field, and I used the same principles for that book into network marketing. And the book said, whatever it is that you want to be, you need to act like as if you already are. And it gave me specific instructions. And that's another thing, Clayvon. When I teach, I give specific instructions. So I don't say, guys, look, go ahead and do this, go ahead and do that. So the difference between a boss and a leader, a boss is going to say, hey, do this, do this, do that. I need you to get this done. A leader's going to say, come on, let's go. I'm going to show you how to do it. So the book was that show me, let's go. I'm going to show you how to do it. The book says specifically, this is what you're going to do. You're going to say it to yourself. You're going to act like as you already are. You're going to write a note to yourself. What is it that you want? You know, Bob Proctor, he talks on that also. He's another good mentor. He says, okay, how much money you want to make? Oh, a lot. No, a lot is not enough. Write down the amount. So the book said, write the letter. It says, okay, I want to be a sales representative and I want to make $40,000 a year. And I read that note to myself, and it said, go in the mirror and read to yourself, talk to yourself. So on break, I used to go in the bathroom and say, hi, my name is Jeff Simpson. I'm going to be your consultant today. I'm going to be talking about your benefits today. So I went to 4 interviews. I got my first shot. The company, I think, was called AvMed back then. They're not around no more. And I finally got my first job in the field doing sales. Guess what the starting salary was? Plus commission, $40,000.
Oh, wow.
It blew me away. Matter of fact, let me be exact. It was $39,900.
That's crazy.
Still $40,000. It blew my mind. I didn't have to read no more of that book. The book is this thick. I didn't read. I'm serious. I didn't read the rest of the book, but I read the first 2 pages, and it told me to do just that. So every company I've gotten, including TLC, I wrote a check to myself on how much I'm going to make. When I got into my first company, I said, okay, I'm going to make this amount. I'm going to make this amount. I wrote a check for myself for $10,000. I wrote a check for myself for $100,000. Then I wrote a check for myself for $1 million. I cashed all those checks.
That's fantastic. That's amazing.
Awesome.
The next thing, Jeff, that I think goes kind of right along with all of this, kind of maybe the glue, and that's accountability. Obviously, most people that have had your success are self-accountable, but not just talking about yourself, but people you've trained, people that you've worked with. What's your feelings on accountability? Is there anything that you've done? Do you do anything like accountability groups, check-ins, or what have you seen as far as accountability?
You know, I have I've always had I have an acronym that I used to teach in my organizations. I call it the Learn Initiative. And A stood for accountability, was the most important one. L always stood for launch. You know, you have to launch your business. You know, you have to have that grand opening. You got to let people know you're in business.
Yeah, that's funny.
You know? Okay. So L still, you know, so for out of learn, L was for launch. E was for edify. Okay. Those two go in hand. You got to edify your business. You got to edify. You got to get excited about what you're doing. So you got to launch and edify your business. A stood for accountability. That was the most important letter, because without accountability, nothing happens. You got to be accountable to get on that call. You got to be accountable to do that meeting. You got to be accountable to go to that meeting. You got to be accountable to you know, take those no's. Because when I tell people this, I say, look, you all, do you know why you're supposed to go to that meeting, even if you don't have a guest? You need to learn how to do that presentation.
Yeah.
You need to learn how to present that opportunity, because the person who presents the most is going to make the most money. And I've always been in a company where I had sponsor, but then I didn't have a sponsor. I literally just had people who just put me in the system, and that was it. Right. And I think that was a gift and a curse. That was actually my gift, because I didn't wait for no one. Yeah. See, and I tell people, look, you all, the problem with a lot of you all is that you are asking for permission for your success. And also, I'm also an author, you know, and I wrote that. I said, look, I didn't ask for permission for my success. I didn't wait for a sponsor to do a presentation for me. I didn't wait for a sponsor or upline to place nobody under me. I didn't wait for a sponsor or upline to learn the compensation plan. I didn't wait for a sponsor or upline to make YouTube videos, okay, about my opportunity. Okay, I did that. Oh, and then for R stood for so L, launch, edification, accountability. R, remember why you got started. Remember why you're doing this. So when you get ready to quit, what's the alternative? To go back
Yeah.
what you're already doing?
Yeah.
And of course, N stood for now. Don't take action now, but right now. So, that was, so my accountability goes, so go back to your question. I had accountability groups. And in my book that I wrote, when I wrote about, leaders know how to identify. See, everybody can't be in your space because, they have people that can drain you.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So, my accountability groups, they were handpicked because based on what they gave back to me. They didn't wait for me to tell them how to do a presentation. If I needed them, say, hey, look, I can't do the opportunity call tonight. Can you jump on for me really quickly and do it for me? So there's little things that leaders have to know how to identify. So I right away, I knew who I can identify. And that was my accountability group. So we will meet every week because I let people know right away, this is not the Jeff Simpson show. This is a team effort. And I built some of the biggest and strongest teams because they always say that you want to build a team so strong that you don't know who the leader is.
Yeah, I love it.
And everybody on my team were leaders because I let them know, look, you all, I said, when I do these presentations or whenever you see me something, please pay attention because it's going to be your turn. If you want to get where I'm at, please understand that you're going to have to do this on your own. So when I found that accountability group, we did everything together. Whether it was to come up with a team promotion, whether it's to come up with some type of new something, we always had that strategy group. I never did alone. I never made a decision without, the comrades in the team. You don't go to war by yourself. You don't win wars by yourself. You don't win, you can win a game alone, but if you want to win a championship, it takes your team.
Yeah, man, I love it, Jeff. And this kind of brings us up to kind of close out the podcast here. And again, so many amazing nuggets that we've learned and things like that. So I really do appreciate your time. And one of the things that I always like to end on, and it's just something that it's been so passionate to me, and that's giving back. I've talked about a concept for so long: get rich, give back. Obviously, you need to take care of yourself first, create an excess so that you have some money to give back, some time to give back, some knowledge to give back. So it's not just money. It's that whole excess of knowledge, which you've done. This is giving back. This is, and we're so appreciative of it. And I'm sure there's going to be some people that, take some of the nuggets, read some of the books, some of the things that you've talked about this evening. Again, it's just priceless. And we really do appreciate that. But what are your thoughts on giving back, Jeff? Is it something that you think about, something that you participate in?
Oh, definitely. You have to, because, giving back, it opens up a dream and lets others know that it's possible. It lets others know that it's possible. It's very important to give back. Actually, right now, my mom and I have a foundation, and a lot of people don't know, but my culture is Dominican Republic, and we give clothes to the needy up there.
Oh, I love it.
We give clothes to the needy up there, and she's in the process of building some apartments for the less fortunate up there as well. Giving back is important, man, because that's what keeps you grounded. And I don't tell people that I do this, but I feed the homeless a lot too. A lot, and it's just something that I enjoy to do. It just that I hate throwing food away in my house. Mm-hmm. So I would put meals together, and I would just go out there and I give it to the homeless. I do it all the time.
Jeff, when you do that, a lot of people feel, and I get it, that giving anonymously is a very spiritual thing to do, or like not letting anyone see what you're doing, but you're doing Correct. A lot of giving. And I get that, but I think I kind of also share today in 2024. I think maybe Dan agrees a little bit. When you document the giving, it's not like that character of humility is being thrown away. You're documenting it only because in today's age, it's like you want people to see this behavior, so then they'll duplicate it.
Right.
How do you feel about this? Just a new posture of, no, I'm going to show that I'm double tipping this waitress. I'm going to show that I'm bringing my girls down to the shelter and we're feeding the homeless. I'm going to show it not because I need the props, but because I just want to be that visual example and make others, duplicate this new style that we have, this new culture. Let's get back. Like, do you think that's appropriate, or do you do that at any ways? Anyway,
Claiborne, you're absolutely right, because we are in a show and tell society.
Yeah.
And it goes back to what Dan was saying earlier in the conversation. Back then, he was back then you could build a successful business making calls out of yellow pages. No one had to see your success. Success 2024, fast forward today in network marketing, people want to see it. They want to see your success. They want to see you out in a hotel. So it's visual. So it's just the world we live in today is visual. And Dan, and I forgot to mention to you and Claiborne, so the number one book in personal development and success is the Bible.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, it's funny. We work with a group of people that, when you go to the meetings, almost every principle they talk about is from the Bible. And it's amazing how many great promises and then also, success secrets are right there in the Bible. It's crazy.
Because it says that you're supposed to give to the poor and help people less fortunate than you. It's in the Bible. John 13 says that now that you have this information, you'll be blessed if you use it.
Right.
So,
and they say in the scripture, not to veer too deep, but I remember a very special moment with me when I had a mentor share with me that, I claimed to be a businessman. He said, you can't be a businessman without this roadmap. He said, prosperity and the promises of riches and wealth and dominion and abundance and all the Deuteronomy 28, all the promises of wealth and power, being the provider, the lender, not the borrower. That's all in scripture. More than prayer, the Bible speaks about wealth and inheritance and riches. Yeah.
If you read this book, I'm not going to give it away. You will be shocked to find out who was the greatest salesman in the world because of what he sold and who he sold it to. I mean, if you want a spoiler alert, I can just give you a break. I could break it down for you really quickly, and I will. I'll tell you. So this book here, I'm going to tell you, is about a gentleman. He was very young. He's 14 years old, and he wanted to have success in life. Okay, he wanted to have success in life, and he had a mentor, and his mentor was like, "Why do you want to be successful? What is it that you want to do? What is it that you want to do, and why you want to do it?" Right? And he kept saying, "Well, I want to make money. I want to, do this." And then his mentor was like, "Well, that's not good enough. I'm not going to teach you yet." And then, so one day he came back. He said, "Well, I found this young lady who I'm in love with." He said, "Oh, you're doing it for love." He said, "Okay, so now you're ready to be taught." So this gentleman, his mentor gave him a robe for him to go sell. It was a red robe, and he needed to go sell it, right? Because he wanted to learn how to become, the greatest salesman in the world, right? So the mentor said, "I need you to go out there and I need you to go sell this robe." So he went to several people, he couldn't sell the robe. So he met this young lady who had a child, and the child was very cold. And he gave the young lady the robe because he saw the child was very cold. And so he was really sad because he was saying to himself, what is he going to tell his mentor? He didn't sell the robe. He actually literally gave it away. So eventually at first he lied to his mentor, told him he sold it. But then he told his mentor, "Look, to tell you the truth, I didn't sell it. I gave it to someone because they were in need for it." He's like, "You know what? I'm going to teach you because that comes from a spirit of love." Right. So fast forward, person grows up and he becomes the mentor now. Right. So now someone comes into his castle, and the gentleman, comes in there with the robe, and come to find out, the child who wore the robe that day It was Jesus.
Mm.
Jesus was the child who wore the robe.
Wow.
So like I said, that's why he was considered the greatest salesman in the world. And there's another one called The Greatest Secret in the World. Get any book written by Og Mandino. I learned that from Tyrone Best
Mm.
12 years ago.
Wow, that's great stuff right there.
It's
Yeah.
deep. It's really deep. Yeah.
So awesome, Jeff. I really appreciate it, and thank you so much for your time. It's been what we would call one of those, awesome uncommon Mondays. I think everybody's learned a lot from it. We really do appreciate your time, your willingness to give back, and help people. I know you've helped a lot of people. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to you, Clavon, to any last remarks, or if Jeff wants to have any last remarks, and we'll go ahead and call it a wrap.
Well, I'll say before we check on Jeff that this has been awesome. And, Dan, congratulations, partner. Here we are 12 episodes in, and I think we've been very consistent with bringing uncommon, virtues, philosophies, and gentlemen and males to the platform. And this is all archived. And, I think at the end of the day, people will be able to pick through these episodes and find jewels that can change their life, advice and mentorship.
If we stopped right now and didn't do another one, I think people have enough great information to go out there and turn it into 7 figures for sure. But I think what you'll see once we get to that 120th episode or 1000th episode, it's just going to be a lot more of the same. But that's what we want to show, so that people can lose all the excuses and realize, you know what, it really is what Jeff was saying and all these other people were saying. There's 0 people on here that haven't had some sort of mentors. And again, I'm not even talking about a physical mentor of somebody that worked with you personally. Most of these mentors are people that you've never even met, you've never even talked to, and they still impacted your life. And that's what life's about. And that's what we're trying to do. We want to get this information to people that never meet us, never talk to us, but they take some of the stuff that comes from the podcast and from the other information that we put out there, and it changes their life. And again, like Jeff was saying, he didn't have a great sponsor that changed his life and stuff like that. Neither did I. My sponsor quit in less than probably 90 days into it. I talked to him about 8 years later. He couldn't believe not only that I was still in the company, but I had made hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands and eventually tens of millions of dollars. And he's, just working a normal job. Nothing against him. Not that that's not correct, but it is these books and these tapes and things like that, and this desire and this belief and those types of things. And so again, this is incredibly important to me to get the word out with these uncommon men, and just let everybody know we're all the same. We all have the same doubts. We all have the same fears, and we all have that same potential to be uncommon. And that's really what this podcast and this movement's all about.
Jeff, any last words, partner?
Absolutely. Believe in God. You got to trust God. Give God the glory. Give God the grace. And first and foremost, you got to have faith. Just give faith. Once you have faith in God, put some action behind that faith. Okay. Once you have the faith, because you don't pray your way to success. See, once you have the faith, okay, part of that faith is also putting in the work. Okay. Because you're showing God that you believe in what you have your faith in. Because if you just have faith, but you're not doing the work, you don't believe. So if you keep failing, but you have that faith and you're putting in the work, you're letting God know, okay, I believe. Okay. So give God the glory, give God the thanks, because God moves mountains,
Awesome.
Look what happened at the Red Sea, It's just amazing. Okay. So that's it. Give God the glory.
Thanks so much, Jeff. Really appreciate it.
If you guys are out there in social media world, social media land, all over the world, hey guys, share this podcast. Share it if you're seeing it on one of our Facebook or other outlets. And if you're on the YouTube channel, subscribe and let's do this as a family, man. We're going to continue empowering each other. This is what it is to be uncommon, and it's absolutely awesome. So this has been great. Jeff, we want to thank you so much, brother. You are definitely the embodiment of uncommon. And I know the personal growth and development has really shaped your life because I've gotten to know you as a business partner and a friend, and I see how you deal with adversity. I just want to say this in closing. I've watched you deal with adversity like a man who puts God first and who has committed his life to personal growth and development. In moments one-on-one with you, I've heard the grace in your voice when others were just caught up in turmoil and politics. I said, here's a guy that has worked on himself. Okay. So I salute you for that. You are the real deal. Dan, final words?
Just thanks. And my final word again is just if I could hope one thing for everybody is just to realize who you are, remember who you are, remember where you came from, know what your potential is. And probably the saddest thing I see as an adult is literally adult human beings that quit dreaming, that quit believing in themselves, and give up. And so as long as you haven't given up, you're still in the game. We're all here for you to help, show the way to that whole concept of success leaves clues. That's what we're all about. And read some of these books, find some of these mentors, believe in yourself, dream again, and become uncommon. And I'll leave it at that, Clavon. And Jeff, again, thanks so much for your time.
God bless you guys. Take care.
Listen, guys, we came, we saw, we conquered. This podcast is officially over. We're out.